Check it out, Tesla Cybercabs, plural, spotted in the wild.
Oh, this is a really good look. So both these have steering wheels. Look, they have a steering wheel in there. Yep. And they have drivers in the driver's seat. Oh boy. They're a nice little size. It's kind of it's a really compact car, very narrow. It's super narrow. We're driving up Congress Avenue, coming up to downtown. I'm gonna cross the bridge right now. And look, next to us is the Waymo with all those geeky sensors on there. It looks horrible. Also very expensive. But yeah, it looks good. It looks clean, bronze color, bronze gold. And it's just surprisingly narrow. Ooh, it has mirrors on there. The mirrors are like really triangular. I don't know if you can see how triangular those mirrors are. It's pretty interesting. And let's see if we can get a closer look. Nice. Okay, look at that. Looks good, guys. Wow.
I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to too many people listening, but I have some thoughts. Now, optically, in terms of perceptions, this is a big deal. Cybercab, not just one but two on public roads in Austin, Texas, testing, appears to be a massive deal optically. In terms of perceptions, holy shit, wow. But the truth is, if you've been paying attention, this video should really just be called Yawn Fest. Why do I say that? Well, we already know what the Cybercab looks like, so no surprises there. And we already know that Tesla's going to be mass producing these things pretty soon. I mean, they've been telling us quarter after quarter in terms of timing, so this is obviously an interim step. It had to happen. And we already know that Tesla's FSD software, whether it's in a Model 3, a Model Y, a Model S, Model X, doesn't fucking matter. The software's a software, can operate safely on public roads. In fact, Tesla is currently legally driving passengers around autonomously in this very city in their Model Y vehicles. The hard part was the software, not adapting it to a slightly different form factor and slightly different camera placements in a slightly different vehicle. What's important to understand is that seeing these on roads, testing, public roads, solving this is trivial. Tesla's FSD software is extremely transferable. All the vehicle really needs to do is learn to operate with slightly different dimensions, e.g. the physical shape and size of the vehicle versus a Model 3 or a Y or an S or an X. Slightly different camera placement, slightly different dimensions. But honestly, the hard part was the software. The easy part is getting the software absolutely nailed on a slightly different form factor. So from the autonomous point of view, the hard part's already done. Tesla's already legally operating Model Ys in Austin, the same city we're seeing this footage, without anyone behind the wheel. The volume production of the Cybercab, that's the next major challenge. In case you've forgotten or are unaware as to why the Cybercab is such a big fucking deal. It's not the appearance, it's not the color, it's not the shape. It's the big brain engineering behind its design. Everything about this vehicle is hyper optimized for autonomy. And the bottom line is the bottom line. Ultimately, what matters most is cost per mile. A lot of people just don't seem to understand this. If you'll recall, I'm on the record well before the Cybercab was unveiled, predicting ahead of time that it would be a two-door, two-seat vehicle. Not because I'm smart, it's just because I'm not completely brain dead. I did some digging, some research, and discovered that almost every trip in an Uber, a taxi, etc. involves one passenger. A few of them, two passengers, and that's like 90+% of the trips. So if you want to capture 90+% of the market, you literally need two seats. That's it. Some people might ask, well, why wouldn't you just have 4 or 5 seats? I mean, it can't be, just have the extra seats, bro. These people fail to understand that the more mass, e.g. the physically larger and heavier your vehicle is, the more energy it requires to move a mile, which means, wait for it, more cost per mile. Every single thing about Tesla Cybercab is optimized for autonomy, for cost per mile. The rear wheels are larger than the front wheels. It's ultra aerodynamic. It has a gigantic trunk, comfortably seats 2 passengers and no more. We heard the commentary on this video, Matt describing the Cybercab as narrow. Correct. It's only as wide as it needs to be. It's a fairly compact vehicle. Less mass, less cost per mile. So let's talk about transport as a service. Most people probably don't want to risk their life getting to their destination, so safety is important. Most people probably don't want to wait an obscenely long time after booking their transport as a service for it to actually arrive. So safety and wait times are important. Let's assume that every company on the planet, whether it's human-driven or autonomous, can offer a comparably safe transport as a service with comparable wait times after booking. In other words, the service itself is comparable. The only differentiating factor then is the cost. So here's the IQ test a lot of people seem to be failing right now. Well, last I heard, for Waymo, to put one vehicle on roads, it's in excess of $100,000. I mean, they don't make them themselves. Got to pay another company. That company makes a profit along the way. They've got to fit them out with a bunch of sensors and all sorts of bullshit. My best estimate, Tesla's probably going to be able to manufacture Cybercabs long term for sub 20, maybe $25,000, but who cares? Even the Model Y today, Tesla can sell to consumers and make a profit on for $40,000. So obviously, Tesla can produce a Model Y, let's just call it $35,000. A Cybercab, far less mass, lots of savings there, less complexity, less seats, less everything. Obviously, even initially, Tesla's going to be able to produce Cybercabs for meaningfully less than $35,000. That alone is enough for it to be G fucking G. Imagine you're Waymo and you're trying to compete with Tesla, who can put a comparable product on roads and offer a comparable service for a third, a quarter, a fifth the cost. Good luck. And let's assume that Tesla doesn't have a massive cost advantage putting their hardware on roads, which they do, but let's forget that. Ignore that completely. Let's just say it costs Tesla exactly as much to put a vehicle on roads. And let's also completely disregard the critically important fact, which itself, if it was the only advantage Tesla had, would be G fucking G again, which is Tesla's ability to mass produce high volumes, e.g. around 2 million per year, of autonomous capable vehicles. If this was a race to scale, if Waymo had unlimited capital, trillions of dollars to spend, they still couldn't scale a fleet of autonomous capable vehicles as quickly as Tesla. That's also an extremely important factor. But let's pretend that's not true as well. Let's pretend there's a magic catch up to Tesla button. So just recap, Tesla's so-called competition can magically put hardware on roads for the exact same cost or even a lower cost than Tesla. Good luck with that, but let's pretend it's true. And they could magically somehow be putting the same number of vehicles on roads as quickly as Tesla. Again, I mean, good luck with that. But hey, we're living now in fantasy land. So they can match Tesla's hardware cost and they can make hardware as quickly as Tesla. We'll also have to ignore the elephant in the room, which is Tesla's the only company that's actually developed general autonomy. Waymo, very brittle and fragile. I mean, it's a cool little party trick, but they're dependent upon pre-mapping in HD, LiDAR, radar, a bunch of sensors. They can't scale widely and rapidly. Their vehicles don't know how to drive, period. Instead, their vehicles have been trained how to drive in XYZ region of XYZ city. The recent example, lights out in San Francisco, the whole Waymo fleet ceases to function, stops, blocks traffic, emergency vehicles, a total clusterfuck, exposed. Let's pretend that's not also true, that there's a magic button and suddenly Waymo now has general autonomy as well. So if they were somehow able to scale their fleet as rapidly as Tesla, which they can't, what's left then is operational cost per mile. As I said earlier, less mass equals less energy required to move a mile. I just want to recap exactly how far into this world of fantasy we are. Number one, we have to ignore Tesla's enormous cost advantage when it comes to putting hardware on roads. It is not an exaggeration to say that Tesla today, just with their Model Ys, forget the more affordable Cybercab, can put autonomous capable hardware on roads for a fraction the cost of Waymo. We're talking a third, a quarter, a fifth, somewhere in that vicinity. And that's the Model Y. So we're ignoring that, which itself, that's game fucking over. That 1 point. We're also ignoring Tesla's ability to mass manufacture autonomous capable vehicles, already 2 million a year roughly. We're ignoring that as well. We're also ignoring the fact that Tesla's the only company that's developed general autonomy. Each of these things alone is a G fucking G fact. 2 of them would be crazy. 3, ridiculous. If we put all those to the side and just focus on the 4th factor, if it was the only factor, the cost per mile that Tesla can profitably offer this service to customers, the operational cost, less mass in the Cybercab, extreme aerodynamics, efficiency of the drivetrain, that alone would be enough for Tesla to win. Here's how this story ends. Over the next few years, Tesla rapidly and widely scales a global fleet of robotaxis, predominantly Cybercabs, but also supplemented with Model 3s and Ys, which, by the way, spoiler alert, oh, what if I need 4 seats? What if I've got 4 passengers? Oh, bro, yeah, that's what the 3s and Ys can do. They'll supplement the 2-seater Cybercabs. They drive their cost per mile to use the service down as fast as they reasonably can without wait times getting too absurd. And the way to keep wait times in check is to put more of those robotaxis on roads. Waymo, comfortable in its ability to continue to suck from the teat of parent company Alphabet/Google at least for a little while longer, decides to follow Tesla's cost per mile down despite the fact that they can't make money offering this service to consumers and have no hope of doing so in the future. Their hand is forced. If they want people to keep using their service, they have to price competitively with Tesla. Waymo essentially going down the same path that today's electric vehicle manufacturers are, trying to compete with Tesla on the same planet that Tesla sells electric vehicles to consumers, following their pricing down, unable to make a profit trying to match Tesla's prices, so losing money on every electric vehicle sold, which, by the way, is the story of literally every EV maker on earth other than Tesla. I'm not kidding, by the way. No one's making money selling EVs on earth except Tesla. Not in any reasonable volume anyway. That's why they're dropping like flies, bankruptcy after bankruptcy after bankruptcy. And at some point, the folks at Waymo surely pull their heads out and go, hang on, what are we doing here, bro? We're losing money now. We're going to lose more money in the future following their prices down. What are we doing? Waymo dies, Tesla dominates, and all the analysts who thought that everyone was going to press the magic catch up to Tesla button, simultaneously solve autonomy and somehow miraculously be able to put hardware on roads for the same cost and at the same volume as Tesla, you morons, as if that was ever going to happen. Come on, bro. Say collectively, oh my goodness me. How could we possibly have seen this coming? Could anyone have foreseen Tesla dominating autonomy, taking the lion's share of the profits, scaling widely and rapidly? No, that was not possible. We didn't fail the IQ test. Nobody could have seen this coming. And I guess while they're doing that, I'll be digging up videos from a decade prior where I called it literally 10 years ahead of time because it's so fucking obvious, bro. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.